Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to discuss about an important topic on Splunk. So in this video we are going to talk about how to fix Splunk vulnerability. And why this video is important, because currently we have a critical vulnerability which is identified on Splunk 8 versions, and prior to that this is the number CVE 2022-32158, and this vulnerability is based on deployment servers, which is allowing the client publishing of bundles. So we'll discuss about this vulnerability. So what we want to try to understand as part of this video is, like, when it comes about this critical security alerts for Splunk, right? So if you are a Splunk admin, you may start getting vulnerability alerts based on the identified vulnerabilities, right? So what we should do on that case, so you may want to understand like how you can find these details about these vulnerabilities, because you need to understand what is this vulnerability about, what is this reason for it, how to fix it, all those things, right? So we need to first get the details about this CVE. Like for each vulnerability there will be a number like comma vulnerability and exposure from the database, so that we need to get those details and what is this vulnerability about. So how to get these details, we will talk about it, and we also need to identify the fixes for these vulnerabilities, right? So when we see this vulnerabilities because of a deployment server feature in Splunk, what we should do. So we also need to do, like, maybe we get an fix, like we need to update the Splunk, right? So you cannot just go and update it. You need to understand, before implementing this version updates or security fix, what kind of test you can do before implementing those, right? And also, like, sometimes we don't want to implement the update. Is there an alternative for this vulnerability? For example, if we have this 8 versions vulnerabilities, how to fix that? So we will discuss about all these things in this tutorial, and I will share all my experience on that. I will show you all those details. I am sure this will be a helpful video for you. So before we get started into the actual discussion, I would like to ask you, like, if you are new to my channel or if you have not subscribed to my channel, click on the subscribe button, and also like these videos if you like them, and also check my other videos in the channel. Also give feedback in the comment section. So let's get started. So we discuss about how to find these details about this Splunk vulnerabilities, right? So if you're an enterprise organization, you may be getting some alerts from your security team, but you need to understand what is this vulnerability around, right? So let's discuss that. So what I will tell you is, like, you need to go to Splunk documentation itself, because this vulnerability is about Splunk, right? Because there will be other vulnerabilities about Apache or some other kind of vulnerability, so you need to go to their documentation. But in our case, this is Splunk documentation. So if you see this page, splunk.com, and it's a product security page, right? So this is the page which give you the complete details, so you can see critical security alert, right? So Splunk will publish out the advisories for vulnerabilities that are time sensitive as soon as possible. So now if you see June 14th, that is today's 21st, just a few days before, we had a critical vulnerability, which is the one which we talk about, CVE 2022-32158. So I don't know if you are a Splunk admin, and if you have not heard about this, it's time for you to critically think about it. You go and check your Splunk environment. You need to think about this vulnerability, and definitely this should be applicable for you if you are using deployment servers on your environment. So what you need to do is you need to go and read through this. So for example, if I open this page, so let it open. So meanwhile, you can see all these vulnerabilities. So you can see it have a list of vulnerabilities, and the details about that, what is the severity, whether it's critical, high, medium, or it's low. Those kind of details are available here. Now if I go back to this page where it's talk about this Splunk enterprise deployment servers allow client publishing for forward bundles, right? So, and this is a critical vulnerability. So what it talks about is this is like Splunk enterprise deployment servers and versions before 9.0. Okay, for example, if you see Splunk 9.0 is just released few days before, that is on June 14th, I believe. So probably a week before is just Splunk 9.0 released. So any versions of Splunk before that, you have this vulnerability. So you can see what is the reason is the deployment forward bundles to other client through this deployment server. So an attacker that compromised the universal forward endpoint could use this vulnerability to execute arbitrary code on other universal forward endpoints subscribed to the deployment server. So that is what it's all about. So it's making use of this feature of deployment server, so it can access that and it can connect to the other forwarders. So if you see, Splunk Cloud Platform does not offer this use deployment server, so it's not affected. So this is mainly basically for on local environment setup, enterprise setup, where you have own servers, where you have set up your indexers or deployment servers, searchers. So in that case, you need to look into that. And what is the solution? Here the solution says you need to upgrade to Splunk 9.0. Then as an admin, what you will think is like, this is a huge job, right? Because you just got into your servers, you might have having Splunk 7 versions or 8 versions. Now you need to update it to 9.0. So is that's so simple? Like you can just go and update all your Splunk instance to 9.0? It is not that easy, because first of all, you need to understand what is the details of vulnerabilities, right? So let's discuss that. Now if I go back to this page, you also have this link for CVE, right? So you can open this. So this is directly from the database. So if you see, this is directly from their database, National Vulnerability Database, and you can see this talks about this vulnerability. So this vulnerability, as we mentioned, it talks about, it says Splunk deployment servers in version before 9 lets the deployment forward bundles to other deployment clients through deployment server, so the attackers can make use of that. So it will give you the complete details on different links over here, okay, and it also will give you the details on other vulnerabilities in this record page, okay. So this is the number. So usually when there is a vulnerability defined, these numbers will be talking in everywhere you go. So you can just refer this database for those information. Now we also identify the fix for the vulnerability, right? So in our case, it says you need to update it to Splunk 9.0. So is that so simple? So that's the question. So it's not that it's as simple as you think, because you have a Splunk instance where you have multiple kind of configurations, right? You must be using a lot of apps, maybe like a database app, or maybe you have a Splunk Linux apps for getting some logs, or you may have some New Relic app. You must have some other apps for JMX. So a lot of other apps you may be using. And you cannot just go and upgrade to 9.0, because you need to first see whether these apps are compatible with 9.0. Some of the apps may not be compatible, some may be compatible, but you may have an older version of apps, so you need to upgrade them to newer version before you can upgrade to 9.0. You need to do a testing of all your apps. You need to do a testing of your dashboards, a lot of configurations you have it, so that you can do all this testing before you can upgrade it. So you need to define that testing methodology. Like whenever you have a version update, you need to have a strategy on what kind of apps you have, what is the versions. You need to check with the Splunk base whether these apps are compatible with this version of Splunk Enterprise. So you need to make a list of those things, and based on that you need to plan your upgrade. So now what is the other alternative, right? So you cannot just always go and update. In this case the testing may take long time. So in this case of our case where we are having this vulnerability of deployment server, what you can do is you can just first check whether your Splunk instance is a deployment server or not. So if it's not a deployment server, if it's just a searcher, or if it's just an indexer, you don't have to worry, because this vulnerability is making use of actually the deployment server feature. So you can run this query where you can have Splunk server as local, or you can keep it as star, and you can get the fields like disable on the name of the Splunk server. So if it's showing as disable as 1, means that's the deployment server is already disabled. If it's 0, means the deployment runner is enables and it's used. So what you can do is one option is if you don't want to upgrade to Splunk 9.0 immediately, you can this is also one option to check the deployment server. You can display the deployment server. You can go to Splunk server and you can disable the deployment server for that instance. So at least for a temporary time, the deployment server is disabled, so this vulnerability is not active. But the challenge would be like once you disable your deployment server, you cannot control your configurations on your forwarder. So usually you will have so much of forwarder connected to your deployment server, right? Maybe hundreds, thousands of servers which are connected, and you want to make a change of configuration. Now the deployment server is not running, means you cannot do those changes, because if you change it on your deployment server, it will not get applied to the forwarder clients. So you will have to manually make those changes in all those servers, which is not that easy. So the best option is like, you can go and test your applications, your configurations with Splunk 9.0, and if it's everything is fine, you just go and upgrade to 9.0, so your deployment server will be also running, and you should be able to configure your all configurations from your deployment server to the forwarders. So if you have not heard about this vulnerability in Splunk, I would say like just go and read this product security page, and you need to read through it. And there is also another vulnerability for Splunk forwarders. So I think this is let me check this one. Yeah, if you see, this is a vulnerability for Splunk Universal Forwarder as well. So this one, if you see in Universal Forwarder version before 9, all the management services are available remotely by default. Okay, so here also there is a vulnerability, if the universal forwarders are above 9.0. so there are some solutions, like you can do some changes in the configurations, like disabling the default port, or allow remote login to never, or like management host equal local in web conferences. So there are different settings you can do, or the other options, you can just update your universal forwarder to 9.0. so you have to upgrade your universal forwarder to 9.0. that is the easiest way, or otherwise you can do this configuration change in the universal forwarder. So there are different kind of vulnerability, but these are all new vulnerabilities, but this is not a critical one. This is if you see, the score is not applicable, so it's not a critical one. But if you see, this vulnerability is very critical, and I would see like most of the enterprise will be working very fast to get it fixed. Maybe in 2-3 days they want to fix this vulnerability, so the security team will be pushing a lot to get this fixed, right? So look into that, and the suggestion which I told, like you can disable your deployment server, that's the easiest one. The other options, you can test your apps and everything with Splunk 9.0, and you can upgrade it. And I would say like you can also talk to Splunk team, Splunk support. Maybe they have some other suggestion, like they have some kind of other fixes coming for 8.2 or some other older version of Splunk. I'm not sure. I'm just seeing this at this point, like it says you need to upgrade to 9.0. okay, so I just want to share this information with you, because this vulnerability of CVE 2022 32158 is very critical, which is related to the deployment server. So I would request you to have a look and get those things as fixed as, and I'm sure this video would be giving you some helpful information. So that's all for this video. If you're new to my channel, or if you have not subscribed to my channel, and if you want to watch more videos like that, I would request you to click on the subscribe button, and also like my videos, share, give your comments in the comment section, and thank you for watching.